All right, let's talk about it. You've probably been there, right? You're hours deep into an AI image generator trying to create that perfect book cover. You're dreaming of something professional, something that pops, but what you get is, well, something with a six-fingered hand or a title that looks like it was glued on as an afterthought. It just screams AI. Well, we're going to fix that. Let's dive in. And yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. The source material for this says it perfectly. A lot of AI-generated book covers just look awful. It's that weird uncanny valley of design, where it's so close to being right, but something about the lighting or the way the text sits just feels off. And that's the credibility gap we're here to close. So that's the big question, isn't it? How do you use these incredible tools to make a cover that feels authentic, that looks professional, and, most importantly, that actually makes somebody want to click buy? That's exactly what we're going to walk through, step by step. But first, you might be thinking, if the results can be so hit or miss, why even bother? What's the big deal? Well, it really comes down to two massive, game-changing advantages. First, pure speed. I mean, the fact that you can explore 20 totally different visual concepts in the time it takes for your coffee to cool down, that's a creative superpower. And second is iteration, the ability to just tweak things on the fly, make it moodier, change the entire color scheme, try a different angle, without having to scrap everything and start over. It's just incredible. Okay, but here's the catch, and this is probably the most important thing to get your head around. Most of these AI tools are specialists. They're either amazing at creating the artwork, or they're great at layouts and templates, or they handle typography really well. It's super rare to find one that's a master of all three. So the secret is to use a hybrid approach, combining the strengths of different tools. Which, of course, brings us to the tools themselves. The options can feel a bit overwhelming. There's a new one every week, it seems. But we can make this really simple. It's not about finding one perfect tool. It's about building a small, smart toolkit and knowing when to use which tool. But before we even look at a single tool, we need to talk about the one rule to rule them all, the thumbnail test. Look, your cover is going to be seen as a tiny little rectangle on a screen. If a potential reader can't immediately get the vibe and the genre from that tiny image while they're scrolling, your cover has failed. That's it. This is the test for every single decision we make from here on out. So really, your options boil down to two main camps. On one side, you've got the all-in-one builders. Think of these as the Swiss Army knives. They do everything in one place, which is awesome for speed. On the other side, you have the dedicated art engines. These are like specialized surgical tools. They create absolutely stunning, unique art, but you'll have to take that art somewhere else to finish the job. So let's look at some of the big names. For the all-in-ones, you have tools like Canva and Adobe Express. Canva is fantastic for beginners. It has great templates, but you gotta be careful it doesn't end up looking too Canvy. Adobe Express is really good for turning that mess of ideas in your head into a clean design. Then you've got something like BookBrush, which is built from the ground up for authors. On the pure art side, Midjourney is the king. The images are just breathtaking. But, and this is a big but, it only makes the art. You're on your own for the layout and text. And Leonardo is another powerhouse for art, especially if you want to explore a very specific style. Okay, theory's great, but let's get our hands dirty. How do you actually go from a vague idea to a finished cover that looks fantastic? I'm going to give you a 6-step workflow you can use with any of these tools. This is our roadmap. It's simple. We start with a little detective work, collecting genre signals. Then we write a smart prompt. After that, we generate a ton of options, and then we judge them with our thumbnail test. Finally, we get the typography right and export everything correctly. Let's break it down. Step 1, you're a spy. Seriously. Go to the bestseller list for your exact genre and just look. What fonts do you see over and over? What's the color palette? Are thrillers using cool blues? Are romances using warm pastels? What's the subject? You're not trying to copy anyone. You're just learning the visual language that tells a reader, hey, this is the kind of book you love. Now step 2. And this is maybe the biggest mental shift you need to make. Stop asking the AI for a beautiful image. Start asking it to design a book cover. It's a totally different thing. You have to think about composition and where the text is going to go from the very first prompt. So what does that actually sound like? Well, you're going to use design language. You literally start your prompt with book cover design. Then you add phrases like, with space at the top for the title, or minimal background clutter. And my favorite, high contrast, readable thumbnail. Telling the AI to create a single focal point is another huge one. It keeps the cover from getting too busy. Okay, step 3 is all about quantity over quality.
at least at first. You need to generate a lot of options. We're talking 10, 20, even 30. Your goal right now is not to find the one perfect image, it's to find the one perfect direction. You're exploring, not finalizing.
And now, step 4, Judgment Day. It's time for the thumbnail test. Take all those images you generated and shrink them down until they're the size of a postage stamp on your screen. Now be brutal. Which ones turn into a muddy, confusing mess? Which ones are still clear? That gorgeous, super detailed image might look amazing full size, but if it fails this test, it's out. The simple, high-contrast one is probably your winner. So, you've picked your art. The fun part is over, right? Well, not quite. Now we have to deal with all the boring but incredibly important stuff, the technical details and the legal fine print that can get your cover rejected or cause way bigger problems. First things first, an ebook cover and a print cover are two completely different things. An ebook cover is just a single image file of the front. Easy. A print cover is this big wraparound PDF. It's got the front, the back, and the spine, plus extra bits on the edges called a bleed. You gotta think of printers like airport security. They do not care how creative you are. They only care that you followed the rules exactly. And speaking of rules, here are a few words you should probably just avoid in your prompts. Highly detailed usually just creates visual noise that fails the thumbnail test. Masterpiece is a lottery ticket that almost never wins, and anything like trending on ArtStation can give you a cool poster, but not necessarily a good book cover. You know, there's a great analogy for this in the source material. It says prompting is like ordering a sandwich, but the person making it can read your mind, only in poetry. And that's so perfect, right? You have to be specific enough that they know you want a turkey sandwich, but poetic enough that they make it with love. It's a real art form. Now we get to step 5, the words, your typography. You could have art by Da Vinci, but if your text looks terrible, the whole cover is a failure. And the rule is simple. There has to be a clear hierarchy. Title is king, it's the biggest. Then comes your author name, and then anything else, like a subtitle, is the smallest, non-negotiable. And finally, the big one, rights and licensing. Look, this is not legal advice, and this whole area is still evolving, but here's the reality check. Copyright is all about human authorship. That's why your job as the creative director here is so important. And obviously, don't prompt for things you don't own, like famous characters or brands. And always, always, always read the terms of service for whatever tool you're using before you publish anything. So, let's zoom out and put a bow on this. If you remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. The magic here isn't just pushing a button and hoping for the best. That's not how you get great results. The real magic trick isn't the AI tool. The magic is you. It's your judgment, your taste, your deep understanding of your own story and your audience. It's about using these tools to create something that hits all the right genre notes for a reader, but still feels completely uniquely yours. That's the challenge. So the real question is, does your cover do that?